Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on a new edition of the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm Sheldon Kay, the show manager of Mobile Tech Expo and also PDR Expo. Today I have Eric Garves joining us, and we're going to talk about some of the things he does. He's with Mobile Tech RX. I'm sure you've seen him since they've been supporting our industry for many, many years. So, Eric, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit who you're with and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show. My name is Eric Garves, and I'm one of the co-founders of Mobile Tech RX. And my background is actually, coming from the technician side. So I was a dent repair tech for about 10 years before transitioning into software. So I was, out there with my other co-founder and business partner in dent repair, Damon Simmons, and we were out there using, two-part, three-part invoices and writing those up and giving copies to the customer and saving our own copy and losing them and meeting up all over town at the first of the month to try to get what we needed to submit statements that we would spend hours creating on Excel, and ultimately realized we lost one inside of a glove box somewhere, and finally realized that we needed to kind of that was the time frame when you go back when we started almost 10 years ago, is when apps were coming out and when everything was starting to come out on your phone. And so we knew we needed to get on board, and we just at the time couldn't find anything that really felt like it was addressing all of the concerns that we saw. And so we took a leap of faith and thought if we made something that worked well for us, chances are it would work well for everybody else. And that's really kind of the story, and that's what happened.
That's super cool. I honestly, as long as I've known you, I didn't realize you were a dent guy before all of this.
Yes,
So that's really neat.
I
How
still have
long
my
did it?
tools actually. I just
Yeah,
moved houses and I brought the tools with me, and they take up a good chunk of the garage still, and I don't think I'll ever get rid of them.
awesome. Oh, I love that. So how long did it take when you started thinking about the app to actually having something you were proud of and promoting?
It was a good almost a year, probably about 8 months from the time that we said we're going to do it to the time to where we actually could, you know, take our first customer. The first MTE we went to, actually, we didn't even have a product that we could sell. We showed up at the show, had a last minute booth, and we had a little stand with an iPad, and we had to make sure that we directed you as far as what to touch and what to do, because if you went down the wrong path, you were going to crash the app because it was
Right.
still an early beta version. So that it was about 6 months to get to that point. Another couple months before we were ready to go. And you asked how long until it was something we were proud of. Probably another year after that.
Oh,
So
wow.
app development is just a beast. It takes a long time to iterate, and especially when you're first coming to market, you're not going to get it right the first time. And so we did pretty big redesign a couple years later, and so yeah, it was several years before we got to the point to where we felt really good about what we had, and we're proud of what we were offering.
Wow. So clearly, the technology world was changing daily at that point.
Mhm.
Apps are coming out. They were somewhat trusted, but unknown. What was the adoption rate for something so new to an industry that had never had anything like this before?
Well, so you've got your early adopters, and I would say probably any industry, any product kind of has that. The people that they know exactly what your vision is. Maybe they're thinking about doing it themselves, and they want to be involved early so that they can give feedback and be a part of kind of that growth. And so we got that. First 100, 200 customers came on relatively quickly, which in was slow to us. We were thinking, oh, we open this thing up and we have thousands of users using it right out of the gate. So the first 100 or so was kind of our stable user base for a good year almost, and then we kind of slowly, as we took their feedback and grew from there, that's when we sort of ramped up, and it kind of went hockey stick a little bit. So I think once we were iPad first, only iPad. I think once we opened up our phone version, that really opened the door. And I think we got up to our 1,000 users pretty quickly after we released the phone.
So
And so we're
obviously, the tech industry has changed as far as the PDR industry as well. With that, technology coming hyper up, and then PDR also adding more add-ons and different things they're doing in their day-to-day life and doing money makers. Have you kind of seen that as the app's grown over these past 10 years or so, that the apps had to adapt to all the different add-ons people are doing, or what have been the
yeah.
big changes in the industry you've seen?
No, we for sure we've seen that. You're starting out with if you're a PDR user, you're doing primarily PDR when you first start, and you're probably just this solo owner operator. And then if you want to grow, at a certain point you've maxed out everything that you can do, and so you're either going to add on additional services that you can perform on that car, or you're going to hire people to either do more PDR or additional services. And so we've seen that just by hearing users, PDR users coming and saying, "Hey, I'm opening up a shop now." That's been a really big trend is, mobile technicians, taking the jump into opening up a
Yeah, the
location,
brick and
maybe
mortar.
still having a high route, maybe still servicing the people that are their bread and butter, but dipping their toe into having somewhere to bring tougher vehicles to while also establishing a retail business. And then once you have that shop, that's really like the jumping off point where now you can start hiring someone to answer the phones for you and to do estimates, and an apprentice to learning the trade who can then start. That's a really great spot to be in if you're trying to grow. And so we've got user feedback saying, "Hey, I'm now offering ceramic coating. Hey, I'm now doing bumper repair at the dealership," or "I'm going to learn, I've hired someone to do wheel repair." There's a whole bunch of new services. Restore effects is a big one that people have started to do. And so, as we get these requests and feedback over the years, we have added new modules. So if you're doing any number of services, our software will still be a really good fit for you. Our intention is we can be there for you as you get started, and as you grow, like, you can expand to different modules and different features, and it will kind of grow with you at the same time. And it's interesting too, seeing just the ratio of companies and users has grown. What I mean by that is, if you go back 6 7 years ago, most of our users are kind of owner operators. So you'd have maybe like 1.2 users per company, the
Mm.
majority of. And then that was pretty steady for a long time, and over the past like 3 or 4 years, every year that's going up. And this year we're more around like 1.5 users per company, which is good 20 25% growth,
Right.
which really kind of, and we've seen that too with our number of users versus our number of companies. So like we track number of companies that we have; those are our like subscribers, and then they can add users. So we've got two different metrics, and typically every year, maybe we'll get 500 or 700 new companies on the platform, and about as many users. But this year there was like 1,500 new users on the platform, which was triple what we normally see. And so like it's this year has really seemed like a turning point. And I feel like the industry is growing, and I feel like existing companies are growing. There definitely is a trend on either adding new employees or adding new services. Like we're definitely seeing that.
Yeah, so on those like analytics side, you can see the users, and can you see the products they're adding? Like obviously they might be like fender panel versus quarter panel or whatever, but can you see the like weird add-ons, like how many people are adding PPF or ceramic or some of the, like windshield repair? Can you see like some of those other things grow as well?
We can if they use the module specifically for that. So like in the platform, you've got these modules for PDR and for glass repair, wheel repair, so on and so forth. However, we do have like a miscellaneous sort of catch-all, and that's kind of the wild, wild west. You can type in whatever you want. Everybody spells things differently, and so a lot of people do just kind of fall back and use that feature. And so we don't have really good standardized data to show there. But like if we run more of like a general analytics on the modules, like we do see growth in that. Like the other modules outside of PDR are getting more use, and there's definitely more invoicing being done in those as we go from year to year as well.
So, is there any conclusion you can draw with the users that are using the different modules for different add-ons? Could you assume, or maybe have like any data to back up, that they are making more money as a shop versus people that aren't? Is there any conclusion to be drawn there? And I don't want to like breach any of your, that like I don't know what you want to call it,
Yeah.
but like on a very broad spectrum, is there any way to say any conclusion there?
We haven't looked at that, like as far as like what's the average, company invoicing per year that just does one service versus one that does multiple. We haven't looked at that. We're happy to look at data like anonymized and give industry reports, and I think everyone would be better off kind of knowing the industry trends. But yeah, we never look at it like specifically, but that's a good idea. Like that's one thing we have been talking about is kind of coming up with a quarterly or yearly sort of industry report because there is so much data flowing through the system that there's certainly some insights we could provide to the industry, and
Yeah, I,
everyone would
I
be
mean, I'm
happy
a
to do
data
so.
nerd, so I think that'd be like super, super interesting to see because I see both sides. There is the PDR tech that is incredibly good and can just focus on doing those extreme dents on, the high-end cars, making that money, versus the ones that are also good, but that can speedily do it while adding other services. And I'd just be very curious to compare the two on doing like
Yeah.
fleet work with lots of add-ons versus like high-end single work. So
Yeah. My educated guess would just be that it kind of comes down to how many technicians you have. It's probably like there would need to be a correlation between number of users you have.
yeah,
Because if you were just a one man company, you're going to make the most money if you're spending as many hours and many minutes of the day as you can doing the one service that you make the most per hour.
right.
So like even if you could stay busy all day long fixing hail damage dents, you're gonna pull if you're good, you're doing potentially several $1,000s a day, and taking an hour off to go fix a chip in a windshield is you're not going to make more money doing that unless you had nothing else to do during that hour. Um, but at a certain point, if you have all the PDR work you can get into your shop or into your route, then at that point, you're going to make more money by doing additional services to that car, whether you do it or someone else.
And
You
possibly
see that
gain bigger clients that you can, have this full suite of tools versus just
exactly. We see
one.
that at dealerships quite a bit. So this idea of packages, like you do dent repair, and next to you is another vendor that does wheels, and there's one that does paint and interior. And dealerships are starting to, and this isn't brand new. This has been happening for years, but certain areas of the country catch on quicker than others. But this idea of just paying the dealerships like paying one vendor and one, choke, one neck to choke,
Yeah.
and then you as a vendor either partner together and offer this package, or you'll see some services grow inside and offer all of these services as well. That's another way to kind of grow is just instead of learning how to do all these trades on your own, partner with these people in your industry and kind of come up with a price that's going to make sense for everybody, and someone kind of take a little bit extra if they're going to be the one managing all of the work and the billing.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. We always come back to this like every podcast I do. This is why MTE exists, is to meet these people. Like you might be the best PDR tech ever, but you still need to come to the show and you might meet a detail guy or paint or a chip repair, wheel repair. And it's good to have these people in your inventory because you can't do all this yourself usually. It's
Yeah.
nice to have someone you can rely on that's going to toss you work back. And that's why it's such a symbiotic community. That's really why NTE as a show exists and continues to thrive because of like exactly everything you just said.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the show, when I was a tech prior to having a booth at the show, and it was just an incredible experience. I think the first time I went, I was kind of more tentative and shy about it, and just kind of going in and quickly looking at all of the booths and not really interacting with many people, just because felt like there maybe there's a lot of competitors here. I don't know, just uncomfortable the first time. Next time around, ended up at the bar, you get a few drinks in you, and you start talking, you start seeing some people with name badges in the city you're in, and you start talking to them, and you realize that there's plenty of work to go around, and there's so much knowledge that you can share amongst each other. And I came out of that show with people, in my city that could cover for me when I was gone. You have kind of established boundaries, after the show as far as, hey, I won't touch your stuff, you don't touch mine. And it became a fantastic show to attend just as a technician, which I think a lot of people, I'm assuming, may have the same experience I had when they first go or have been thinking about going. But if you do and you just start chatting with people and networking a little bit, you'll find that it's a really friendly environment and there's a lot to be gained from it.
Yeah, and that's we took over the show in 2017, I guess I was, and now we slowly added more and more parties after because that's
Hmm.
where yes, the booths are great, the education is fantastic, you're always going to learn something, but you get some drinks and people get them talking. That's really where the networking really starts, and that's where a lot of the value comes from. So we're big proponents of having after parties, having some free drinks and networking, and this year, we're actually having an 80s party with a band, so that's going to be pretty cool. That'll be Friday night, first time we've ever had a band at NTE, so I'm stoked.
Nice. Yeah, I was actually just speaking to Kevin Bird a couple days ago, and he mentioned that to me, and
Yeah.
I told him that's easy. I dress like I'm in the '80s most days, so I don't even need to dress up for
Yeah, being that I'm bald, I'm gonna have
that.
hair metal wig, and we'll have like some headbands and stuff. So we're gonna do it upright. It's gonna be a really good time for everybody. But speaking of parties, you also exhibited and sponsored at PDR Expo. What was your kind of take on that, being the big Vegas new show that's growing? And I mean, it's Vegas; it's a
Yeah.
party in itself. So, kind of, what was your impression of that and takeaways?
Yeah, so we were there the first year and this year, and the amount of growth from year one to year two was phenomenal. We went to the first show. You do a brand new show, brand new city. You don't like your expectations need to be low because you're trying to get the word out. And so we kind of had the commitment, like, hey, we're going to do it as long as you guys are doing it. But man, if it's like this every year, how is it going to survive? So I was a little worried going to year two, but man, like it was significantly more busy. There was, quite a few more exhibitors, and I had me and one other salesperson at the booth, and we were busy at our booth pretty much bell to bell both days. And the first day we were just swamped. I mean, it felt like an MTE show, like an MTE Orlando show. So, we were extremely excited with like the buzz and the energy this year, and it's really exciting that it feels like there's been a footprint has been established, and like moving forward that show is going to flourish.
Yeah, and we think so too. And obviously, the reason we started that was to get more West Coast techs knowing about MTE. And I think starting the first year, like 85% of people at PDR Expo had never been to MTE. And I think we
Mhm.
dropped down some, it was like 80% this year, but still, that's fantastic to get people to know about MTE and come meet the community, meet the vendors. And, as you as a vendor, get more people in your database you might not have.
Yeah, that's something we've seen too. Like at Mobile Tech Expo, the first 2 or 3 years, our booth was pretty busy, and we had to have a double sized booth, and it was new customers coming up saying, "Hey, I know I need to use you guys. Hey, I've heard about you guys. Show it." And as we get into like year 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's more everyone's aware of who we are. A lot of folks are using us. People are coming by with feature requests or helping you with a bug or something like that, and it's not a lot of new business. And that's been the case for the past several years. But this year at MTE or in January and PDR Expo, it was a surprising amount of people coming by that had never used us, maybe even never heard of us before. And so we had quite a few new signups and demos, very different this year. And so that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where it just feels like the industry is growing, and there are definitely some new faces. And so I don't know if these are new people getting into the industry, or maybe y'all just done a really good job marketing to the people that weren't aware
Yeah,
of
no,
of the show
definitely. And
before.
we're seeing like at MTE, we're having like 20% growth every year. And a lot of that is new people. So that of course means some people aren't coming back. But then, we ask why, like, why didn't you come this year? And the overwhelming majority is I'm too busy. So like I'll go every other year, whatever. But it's so great to see 20%, almost all of those being new faces every year, which
Yeah,
most industries we do trade shows all over the country. It's almost impossible to get that. So
yeah,
this is a really cool industry to be working in and helping thrive and get those faces in front of you, and then they get the skills they need to hopefully do better and be better techs out there.
yeah.
What are you looking forward to besides new faces, new growth? What's your main hype points and excitement for MTE this year in January?
If I'm going to talk about maybe like on mobile tech's point of view, I think we're excited to hype, some of the new features we have coming out. We've got we talked about people starting to open up shops more. And when they do that, there's kind of a new suite of software and functionality they need that, we wouldn't offer traditionally in Mobile Tech RX. And so instead of going out and like recreating some amazing software that exists now, like Go High Level or HubSpot, some of these CRM softwares that are, really necessary to run a shop, but aren't going to give you anywhere near the estimating capability that you're going to get in something like Mobile Tech RX. We're using a Zapier integration to hook in between Mobile Tech RX, and specifically working with some users that use Go High Level and making sure it works really well for that. But also you can use it with, you know, MailChimp or HubSpot or any, Zapier. If you're familiar with Zapier,
I'm
there's
a
thousands and
huge
thausands of
Zapier user.
applications in there. And so we'll be
Anyone
one
ever
of
out
them.
there who wants a
Yep.
little API connector, Zapier is your go-to. I love it.
Yep. So, and that's, we started getting that request more and more often as more and more people started kind of expanding their businesses and offering new services and opening up shops. That started to become what used to be a random request we'd get once in a blue moon is now like monthly, multiple people are asking when there's going to be some sort of functionality like that. We've also got an integration with one of our sister companies coming out, Blue Driver. And so this is really something that it is a service you could add because you can charge for this and insurance will reimburse for it. But it's also something that you should be doing, which is pre and post scanning for your cars. And so this isn't just PDR; it's paint and any wheels. Anytime you're taking something off the car, and really even just working on a car, it doesn't hurt to do a scan before you start, see what codes are thrown, and then do your repairs. Do a scan afterwards. At the very least, you've got documentation so that if that customer ever their dash lights come on 2 days later, maybe by coincidence, and they want to blame you, you can show that, hey, you left, it's the exact same state as when you showed up. And so we've got a way, we'll be able to, this won't be live by the show, but we want to show it off. You'll be able to plug in this little Blue Driver Bluetooth dongle in a car. From within Mobile Tech RX, you can initiate a scan. It'll connect to the device. The device will do a scan of all the systems, and the results will be pushed back into the application in raw format, as well as like a PDF that you could print and give to your customer if you want. And also potentially showing you fix info. So if there was something you threw and you want to know how to fix it, showing you helpful tips about how you may fix or clear that code based on other people that have done it successfully in the past.
Well, I mean, that's so important nowadays. You start looking at EVs and like these connected vehicles that there's so many sensors and everything in the car. If you're in there pushing, you want to make sure you didn't screw something up that you're going to be liable for down the road. So I think that's a really, really great add-on you're doing that everyone should probably take advantage of.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty great. Like you should be doing this now. If you're not, you should.
Yeah.
And if you're using something else, like it's ideal to keep all of your documentation inside of the same estimate. So like this is going to be a better way of doing it. I think you'll find, that the pricing is going to be more affordable than what anyone else is currently paying to do it now. So it should be a win-win all the way around. I would say also looking forward to just this general theme of kind of expanding and growing outside of your business or growing your business. Like I think that's going to be a really big theme this show. And so I know there's a lot of seminars already going on about that. I was on the phone with Matt Moore a few days ago, chatting with him, and there's one that he's doing that's going to be just. It was such good info. I almost tried to invite him on this episode with you but I was like, no, you know what? Just let me talk about your roundtable. It's a PDR shop owners roundtable that's going to be all about growing into detail and additional services, and it's going to be other people on the stage that have done it too. Like some of these seminars that you're getting up on the lineup are just priceless. So like if you are going to the show, please make time for education day, because I think that's going to be more valuable than any tool purchase people could make, unless you're buying Mobile Tech RX.
And I'll put the same spiel out here I do every time. If you buy a ticket for education day and you don't learn a thing, I'll fully refund you, no questions asked. But I've never had anyone take me up on that. So please take a chance. If you think you know everything, you don't. There's going to be something you learn, or even someone you meet in those classes. You're going to hear a question that sparks something in your head that you might start a new business on, because that's happened multiple times now. We have like 3 companies at MTE that started out of an education class. Someone saying, why doesn't this exist? 3 of them got together, boom, there's a company.
Yeah.
So there's some cool things like that. So, take a chance, learn something, expand your business, and, get some great quality education that we spend a lot of time putting together for you.
Yeah. And we'll be sponsoring a show too that, Kevin Bird and Dave Schlott are going to host, and it's all about wholesale. Over the years, I don't think there's been a lot of seminars and talks about wholesale, specifically like getting dealership work. And so there's a lot of, between those two, there's some incredible.
You're talking about 2 industry legends in the wholesale world. If not, I mean, I dare to say the 2 top wholesale, but to
Yeah.
get them talking and giving tips will be invaluable if that's a world you want to get into.
Yeah. I mean, they were afraid to do the show because they didn't want to like give all their secrets away to have other people go use them against them. But they decided it's so valuable, they'll go ahead and spill the
Yeah.
beans.
Yeah, because I know Bird did a little bit at PDR Expo, and some of the stuff he was dropping, I was like, wow, I'm surprised you're giving away some of these little tips and secrets, but
Yeah. That
there's a
was
lot
kind
of
of
cards and tweets out there for people. So
that was sort of our test one. We wanted to see how it went and you know come up with the talking points to do a bigger, better one at MTE. And so I think he held some stuff back on the first one too that he's probably going to disclose on the next one. And I think it'll be a even better version in January.
no, yeah, very excited about that. And then one thing my marketing team wanted me to throw out there that a lot of people didn't take advantage of last year, that the morning after education, that'd be Friday morning, first day of the show. So you can do educational day party. We have a free Bloody Mary bar in the morning. So we actually had like free Bloody Marys. This year we're gonna have mimosas too. So like just make sure you come and take advantage of it. They're literally free. You just have to come get one. The Gaylord did it up right, with the bacon and all the toppers and all that. So it's right there. And people like we bought all these Bloody Marys, no one drank them last year. So I just want to make sure people take advantage. So hope to see you there, Eric. And I had one last year. They were fantastic.
Yeah, I'll get my sales team and marketing team. We got a pretty decent crowd going on behalf of Mobile Tech this year, and we'll help you drink them.
All right. Well, any final thoughts or anything you want to share with the group before we go?
I would say, if you're looking to expand into other businesses, like I would definitely check out like a glass chip repair. There's going to be a couple booths. I know Glass Mechanics is there. Like, don't just go walk around and keep an open mind. Don't just go looking at the one tool or tool company that you usually buy from or the industry you're in. Like use this as an opportunity to start exploring what else you could do with your business. So glass chip repair is a great add-on. Ceramic coating is something that you should be looking at if you do have a shop, because it's a relatively easy thing that you can learn how to do. And there's a lot of, I've had a couple of my cars, covered, and it was not cheap and it was done very quickly. And so there's a lot of profit to be made in that. Network, try to find some other users, in your area, some other technicians in your area that you can maybe partner with when you get back home. Go by the Restore FX booth. That's another, if you've got a shop, a fantastic franchising opportunity that you could use not only for retail customers, but your wholesale customers as well. ADOS is a new thing that you should be getting into, at least, educating yourself on. And then Tent and PPF, those are two things as well that I look into. They have a much longer learning curve. You may be looking at a couple year investment, but you don't have to do that right out of the gate. If you have a shop, there's no reason you can't partner with another company locally that does it. They can come mobily to your shop, help you do you can sell tent jobs to your current customer base. Someone else can come and do it. You can take a little bit off the top. And over the months and years, maybe you eventually partner with or acquire that company or bring it in-house as you slowly learn how to do it yourself. So that's my advice, is think outside the box a little bit when you come to the show, and you may leave with a way to significantly increase your revenue and how much money you take home.
No, that's perfect. And that's really what the show's about. So, talk to everyone, look at these, and then, analyze your own strengths and weaknesses. Some people are incredible at doing PPF. Like, I can't do it. I am not detail oriented enough to get all the bubbles out and stuff. That is not my jam. But a lot of PDR techs are, because that's what you're doing already while you're pushing. So,
Hmm.
look at your own strengths and weaknesses, see what you can do. And if not, partner with the right people.
Yep.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I will be seeing you in a scary short amount of time. I think we're just under the 2 month mark now, or 60 days out of some very, very short timeline.
Yeah.
But Eric, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you
Thanks
to
for
Mobile
having
Tech
me.
RX for being such a great supporter of the show.
Yeah, always. We'll see you soon.